Hey, it's Lisa here with a February 6th love note. Today the guides came in and they were asking a lot of questions. And one of the questions they asked had to do with heaven on earth and what we believe heaven on earth looks like or feels like. Because ultimately, as we're moving from this, 3D existence into a more fifth dimensional level of consciousness to experience here on earth, we are actually ushering in this sense of heaven on earth. But what is that? What does that look like? What does that feel like? And it might be different for every person. Your heaven on earth and my heaven on earth might be very different things. But it's the idea of leaning into it and recognizing what we think that is in our own lives so that we can consciously and intentionally usher more of that in. And what they were explaining is that when we anchor into the energies of heaven on earth, we actually anchor that into our cells, like into every cell of our body, into every proton, neutron, and electron. We anchor in that light and that idea of heaven on earth. We are kind of the bringers of the new dawn. We are the ones who are ushering in this new concept of what being human and living on earth in relationship with ourselves, with each other, and with the divine is really all about. So what is that for you? What does that look like? What does that feel like? What does that mean for the way you interact with yourself and the way you interact with other people? And can you do more of that in your daily life? Would you be willing to do more of that in your daily life? And then we can also think of the opposite. Hell on earth. Some people feel like they are in a living hell. And what is that? What does that look like and feel like? And is that what we want to anchor into ourselves? Is that the energy we want to be walking around the planet with? I would contend likely not. And when we recognize what that living hell energy is, then we can consciously choose, is this something that I want to lean more into, or is this something that I would rather heal and release? And that's really the opportunity. When we talk about triggers and sometimes being emotionally triggered, something will happen, someone will say something, we'll have an experience that triggers something within us. Typically, it's a cellular memory, an emotional memory, something that hits us in the feels or pisses us off or whatever the case may be. That is such an incredible opportunity of awareness. When we can become aware that those triggers are happening, become aware of the impact that they're having on our thoughts, feelings, emotions, on our energy, the way we're feeling, then we have the opportunity to do something with it. To either look to see, lean into it to see how can I heal this? How can I release this? How can I transmute this with the energies of love? Or bury it deeper, which ultimately just means that it's that much more embedded and ingrained in your cells and in your body. So we have the opportunity to think about what is heaven on earth? What is hell on earth? What do those things mean in our own lives? And which do we want to lean more into? Personally, I would love to usher in more feelings of heaven on earth, that energy of heaven on earth, the fifth dimensional level of consciousness of more love, unconditional love, joy, goodness toward humanity, all the good stuff that feels soul aligned and feels like people coming together and living in alignment with their soul rather than living in just the lower consciousness energies, all the fear, greed, hatred, discontent that separates us. We can make the choice. And today the guides simply said to think about it. They encouraged us to think about what heaven on earth means in our own lives. And if we are willing to make the conscious decision to lean into ushering more heaven on earth in our daily experiences, and especially in the ways that we interact with each other and with other people. So that's your encouragement today. They said, please remember that you are always loved unconditionally, and you are always invited to pay that unconditional love forward, because that's one way that we usher in heaven on earth. Have a beautiful night.